What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is the legendary rugby player Dan Carter. Dan Carter just recently retired from the game of professional rugby. He is considered by many experts to be the greatest fly half to ever play the game of rugby. It's a big honor to have him on the podcast today. So get down there, smack the subscribe button, tap that like, and let's jump into it right now with Dan Carter on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Dan Carter. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure about me being a first class father, but I'm still learning as I'm going and absolutely love it every single day.
Yeah, well, on this show, you're a first class father. So let's start it right there. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
Yeah, I've got three boys, sort of Marco, Fox, and Rocco. They're 7, 5, and 2, and number 4 on the way. So a couple more months, and you have four children. Not sure if it's a boy or girl yet. Obviously everyone's going, I hope it's a girl for you guys. But to be honest, another boy would probably be easier. So as long as they're healthy and everything, it doesn't really matter if it's a boy or girl. But mate, you're a father of 4, is that?
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, I have 3 boys, and then we got our girl on the 4th try. So that. Otherwise, we'd have 5 by now. But we got her on the 4th try, and that's the name of that
well
too.
done.
So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm building my little rugby team. It's not the boy, it's all right. Just keep going.
Now, are you guys going to find out, or you're going to wait till the end?
No, we've waited till the end for all the 3 boys up until this date, and we're going to do exactly the same this time around. We kind of feel like it's such an amazing surprise. You can find out so much these days, on the internet. If you can find out all sorts of information. This is sort of one of the things that can be a complete surprise. So we like that about not knowing, what sex is going to be, and to be honest, for us, it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, we did it with our 3rd. I think it's a great surprise. Yeah, the technology's getting so they're going to be able to tell you when the baby's in the womb whether it's going to be a rugby player, a cricket player, or what. You know what I mean? So, well, what I want to do, Dan, here, please just take a minute to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background.
Yeah, cool. Obviously my name's Dan Carter. Was an international rugby player. Played for 13 years for the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team. I went over and played a few years in France, a few years in Japan. My professional career spanned over 18 years, and I've just recently retired. Family being a big part of that reason. So I returned back to New Zealand, living here, beautiful part of the world. Very grateful to be back home.
Yeah, and congratulations on the retirement. You're a legendary rugby player, and I would imagine it's got to be difficult to balance the two. I'll get more into that in a second. But along this journey here of your career, about how old were you, Dan, when you first became a father, and how did becoming a dad kind of change your perspective on life?
Yeah, it was almost 8 years ago. So Marco's birthday is soon. Got married in 2011. First child, 2013. And it completely changed, my perspective. I was, a successful rugby player, and that was a big part of, my focus. And it was hard to escape, the pressures of being a rugby player. My wife, she was a sportswoman. She played field hockey for New Zealand. So she really understood what it took to be a professional sports person, and she was extremely supportive. But as soon as we had children, it just brought a whole new perspective to my career. You'd have good days, you'd have bad days, but it didn't matter. If you came home, you lost, and you're upset, and then you grab your baby or son or daughter, and they have no idea. You're just daddy to them, and I absolutely love that. And it just put sport into perspective. It's not the end of the world if you lose a game. It's not the end of the world if you have a bad game. So it was a great perspective, because I used to go home after a loss or a poor game, and I'll be thinking about it, for a couple of days. I couldn't shake it. But as soon as we built this little family, it just took my mind off, and it just really helped with having a really good balanced lifestyle. So when I was at training or playing, that's where my focus was. When I came home, my family, I took a little bit to adjust, but once I realized that, okay, my mind needs to be here, that I need to be present, and this really brought an amazing balance to my life.
Yeah, very well said. All right, and Dan, how about your three boys? What type of sports or activities are they into?
Yeah, they're very sporty, to be honest. They love soccer. They're obsessed with Messi. I love Messi, and I'm sure he's a bit of influence on their love for Messi. So my eldest son Marco, he's got all the Messi kit. He's out kicking goals, pretending that he's Messi, but he plays um, tag rugby. They call it rip rugby down here. Soccer, futsal, tennis. He's just extremely sporty. Fox is the same. He's 5 and he's just starting to take to sport now. He's actually a little artist. Loves art, loves drawing. Um, he's got a really big heart. Always picking flowers for mummy, telling mummy how much he loves her. So he's really sweet. But he's getting into futsal too now. A bit of ripper rugby, tennis. He loves it, and obviously the 2-year-old's just following the older brothers around every step. I feel sorry for him. He's probably going to be the toughest out of all of them because he's following them. He wants to be playing with them, but he's not really offering a lot at the moment. So the other two just sort of pick on him a little bit, but he'll be extremely resilient because of that. And I'm a left footer when I kick. So my eldest two, they're left footers as well when they play soccer and kick. But the 2-year-old, I've already worked out that he's a right footer, so he's the first right footer of the team, which is good to see.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I did read somewhere, Dan, that the NFL was trying to lure you over to be a kicker over here with the New England Patriots. I don't know if there was other teams involved. I don't know if there's any truth to that. Was there ever any any of the NFL teams that reached out to you? What is your opinion of American football? Was it ever a serious consideration for you to do it?
Oh, I love American football, and I'm a big fan of all the American sports, in particular, yeah, American football as a kicker and rugby. Um, yeah, it's something I do and live and breathe, and it's something I've done ever since I was a little kid. As soon as I could walk, was kick an oval ball. Uh, so yeah, I went to the Patriots just to look at their facilities. It had nothing to do with sort of being scouted or anything like that. It was just sort of mutual friends got invited there, but they obviously did a little bit of research and realized that I kick goals for a living. So they wanted to see me kick, and I'd just been injured with my Achilles injury, so I couldn't, unfortunately. But they showed me around. I talked to the scouts there, the special teams coach. Even had a little chat with Robert Kraft as well, and it was a really interesting process. And they wanted to see if I could kick or not, see if I was tempted to go to tryouts, but I thought it was just a little bit too risky having a family. I know how cutthroat American sports can be, and I'd never tried to kick a American football before. So I just flirted with the idea. To be honest, I never took it too seriously.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, rugby is definitely becoming more popular. I know a lot of high schools now in America are having rugby teams. I had Carlin Isles on the podcast here, one of the fastest rugby players that they got, and there's some definite interest in the game. One of the obvious problems that there is with American football and the NFL is the concussions and kids playing contact football at such a young age. A lot of parents are really worried about allowing their kids to play. And I know rugby, obviously a contact game as well. What do you say is a good age for parents to get their kids, allow them to start playing full contact, start playing rugby?
Yeah, I guess something that we work really hard on here in New Zealand is technique. So obviously it's a contact sport. There's going to be collisions. That's why people love watching the game. Um, but at a young age, when I talked about ripper rugby, they play with tags down their side. So up until the ages of 8, from 6, 7, 8, they play tags, but they have to go in close to the body and rip the tags from the waist. And when you get used to that and doing that for a couple of years, when it comes to contact and tackling, you're already practicing the right techniques because you're getting in close. You want to be, hitting with your shoulder around the waist. You don't want to be hitting them high. So you're teaching really good technique at a young age. So it's something that we do really well here in New Zealand. So they're not just diving at the opposition, sort of diving in with their head first. They practice some really really good technique, which helps them, later in life. And obviously, with the contact sport, you're never going to escape, concussions and contacts and things like that. But teaching them good technique from a young age, so they start playing full contact around the 8 here. And what they do really well is they also have in weight grades. Okay, so it's not like a little sort of 30 kg boy is playing against a 60, 70 kg boy. They're all playing similar weights as well, which gives the parents a lot of confidence as well.
Yeah, and we have that here. Flag football really exploded here. A lot of kids we have, which is great now, where the kids can actually learn the fundamentals of the game without getting, banged around and taking those heavy blows to the head at such a young age. So it's definitely been an improvement to the system over here as well. And then reining it back into you as a dad here, what would you say are the top values, Dan, that you're hoping to instill in your kids growing up?
Yeah, I think just to live in the moment and be really positive. You already see at a young age, some of the setbacks they have, whether it's something as simple as losing a game of soccer or whatever it is, but just being really positive and caring is another one that put a lot of effort in, and so we're really proud of Fox. He's just so caring. He's always thinking of other people, asking if they're okay, telling them how much he loves them. So I think that sort of real positivity. Just you can achieve anything, you can bounce back, you're resilient, but you're also thinking about other people. You're treating people the way that you want to be treated. I think is one of the most important values.
Yeah, and what about as far as discipline goes, Dan? What type of disciplinarian are you as a dad, and is that different than the discipline style that you grew up with?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were pretty relaxed. If I was misbehaving, I was a little bit mischievous at times. I needed to be disciplined. So, very similar. We were very caring, sort of loving parents, but if they are pushing the boundaries at times, they need to know what is right and what is wrong. Um, so I wouldn't say there's a lot of yelling that goes on in the household, but there's a definite sort of I guess reasoning when it comes to what is right and what is wrong. And all parents out there know that your kids will push the boundaries. On numerous occasions. It's we've got a toddler at the moment, 2-year-old, who's pushing the boundaries a lot more than his older brothers. But it's all different stages of life, and I guess that one of the important things is the that there is consistency. With mum and dad, and we're both disciplining them. It's not like I'm kind of they get disciplined. My mum, I'm not cruising in and putting my arm around them and going, oh, don't listen to her. It was okay. Like I think it's really important they get consistency from both parents. They work as a team, so the messaging is nice and clear for the children, so that there's no confusion and they do know what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, very well said, Dan. And one of the things, obviously, there's a lot been written about you as a rugby player. I had Dana White on the podcast here a while back, the creator of the UFC, and he spoke about his legacy, and that the most important legacy isn't the UFC that he built or his business. It's about his legacy of his kids and leaving them behind and what they're going to say about him. So I'm kind of curious here. Much will be written to come too about you in the rugby world, but what is something that you hope that your kids will remember you as a father? What would you hope that they say about you down the line as a dad?
Yeah, it's really challenging because my focus for the last 18 years was to be one of the greatest sort of rugby players on the planet, and that's what was driving me, getting me out of bed. And then you have a family, and you realize, hold on, there's the priorities change. And I guess that early on, a lot of my focus was on rugby, and I was really struggling with balancing family and the goals that I wanted to achieve. So having a 7, 5, and 2-year-old, they're amazing ages where they just want daddy around. So last year with COVID, I was in Japan, they were in New Zealand, we're living apart, which was really challenging. And I got forced home because of COVID. They cancelled the competition in Japan. It was probably going to be my last year playing. And when they cancelled that competition, I was gutted, even though I knew that was the right thing to do with, the state that the world was in because of the pandemic. And it was much bigger than sport, but still part of me was gutted I wasn't able to finish on my own terms and help my team win back-to-back championships. So I walked into the children's bedroom, and our second child Fox, who probably hadn't seen me a lot in the 2 years leading into that, he was like, "What's wrong, Daddy?" I was like, "Oh, I've just cancelled the season." Oh, you look really upset. Oh, yeah, I'm gutted. I'm so sad. He goes, "But does that mean you're not going back to Japan? You're staying here with us?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, that's the best news ever." Gave me a big hug. And so just, from that moment, I realized that actually just sort of being around is really important. So going to their sports game, picking them up, from school, being able to run around the backyard with them, just sort of being present. And hopefully they look back in 20, 30 years and go, man, yeah, Dad, he worked hard, but he was around for us. He was around in the weekends. He was always available to play with us. So it probably wasn't the best start in those first few years of their lives. But obviously with fourth child on the way, a toddler at the moment, there's some great opportunities in the near future to be around, to be present, to be able to spend some real quality time with my children at such a young age, which is real focus for me. Like now that I've retired, I could not easily, but I could go coaching or doing. But mate, I want balance in my life where I'm able to be around for my family, because in a bad way, there's been times in the last few years that I've kind of had to put them to the side to focus on where I wanted to go to as a rugby player, which was challenging.
Yeah, very well said, Dan. And that was going to be my follow-up there is now that you are retired, I'm sure it's very early yet, but what kind of plans or goals do you have here for yourself for the future?
Yeah, I've just been working out what it was that I loved about the last 18 years of being a rugby player and what I've learned through that time to take into my next chapter of life. And something I've really learned is my obsession for winning. So I've got a whole lot of businesses, projects that I'm going to be working on this next chapter in my life, and projects that I really care about and passionate about, and then I'm able to use my knowledge and experience and theories and the art of winning, to help these projects. So it's a real passion of mine at the moment, and working on that and sort of my brand as well. Gives a great opportunity to have flexibility in my life and be around for my family and kids.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that you'll be very successful in whatever you have coming up here. So I look forward to seeing what you do down the line here. And the last thing I want to hit you with, you probably touched on a little bit here, Dan, while we were talking, but the last thing I always love to ask all the dads that get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Yeah, it just takes me back to that time where we didn't have any children, and then we had our first child. And there's no textbook, there's no right or wrong way. You just got to back your instincts. It's a very scary time. There's a lot of fear of like, oh, I haven't done this before. All of a sudden, you're going into this new territory of fatherhood and parenting. But just embrace it. You'll learn, back your instincts, and just embrace that new love that you have. Like I say to all my friends that are having their first child, it's going to change your life, your world. You don't actually understand that until that moment, and it's just such the most special feeling at the moment. So just embrace that, just don't shy away from it. Just kind of learn as you go, communicate well, and yeah, seriously, it's the most special time in anyone's life.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. I'm going to keep an eye out to see if you get that girl one way or the other. Prayers for a happy, healthy baby for you and your family.
Exactly.
It's been an honor to have you here on the podcast. You're a first class father all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Awesome. Thank you much. Take care.